everybody today to the second annual 9/11 commemoration. My name is Ann Arnold. I was an honoree last year, and I have to tell you, it's amazing to see the turnout here today. My father is a Holocaust survivor, and I wrote a book about his story. And we go around and we speak about tolerance, and we speak about anti-Semitism and the lessons to be learned. And I see firsthand the work that the Stamm Wiesenthal Center has done. How much effort and work there needs still to be done. And seeing all of you here today is so wonderful because the support that you give to this center goes such a long way. In light of the events that have happened recently, we all know what happened in Charlottesville. We're actually putting on an event in Englewood, New Jersey, where my father and I will be speaking again on tolerance. And the honorees here today all exemplify that. And so it's really exciting to have you all here. I know you didn't come here to hear me speak, so I would like to, without any further ado, introduce to you Galit Peleg, the Consul for Public Diplomacy, Consulate General of Israel, New York.
With your permission, I will read something. I would like to open with a quote of Stamm Wiesenthal. When we come to the other world and meet the millions of Jews who died in the camps, and they ask us, what have you done? There will be many answers. You will say, I became a jeweler. Another will say, I smuggled coffee and American cigarettes. Still another will say, I built houses. But I will say, I didn't forget you. When I asked myself, when I was asked to speak here today, I asked myself, what events will influence my words? Unfortunately, we witnessed too many events that are related both to terror and hate in every newspaper. You just mentioned one of them. We witnessed the Barcelona terror attack a few weeks ago. Events that occur far away in Africa and Syria or in Europe and in places close to us and to our hearts, like America or Israel. 16 years ago, on a bright day in September, America suffered the most horrific terror attack, but the pain and shock could have been noticed very clearly and sincerely miles away in Israel, a country that had its share of victims both of hate and terror. Taking on Wiesenthal's quote, I didn't forget you, I would interpret it that I didn't forget you, the victim, but I also didn't forget you, the perpetrators. It is our duty to remember the victims, to make sure that their death was not in vain, that the younger generations will know their names and their stories and what they left for us in this world. But we also have the duty to make sure that this will never happen again to others. And that goes both ways. One is the sacred work of those people who dedicate their lives to protect us and to avoid dangers such as terror attacks. The second aspect is trying to understand where those acts are coming from and make sure that the next generations will stand firm against terror, against hate, against racism. I'd like to express my sincere gratitude, admiration to the important mission of the Stamm Wiesenthal Center. Unfortunately, lately, almost every news break reminds us why their work is so important. I would like to take this opportunity and congratulate the honorees, Mr. Balboni, Mr. Stamm, Mr. Bauman, for their dedication to these causes, and thank them as an Israeli, as a Jew, and as a human being.
Thank you. Assistant Director of the Stamm Wiesenthal Center.
Thank you, Ann, so much. I'll tell you, when I first met Ann, you could see the enormous passion for activism and the kind of issues that we work on. And I'll tell you, now having the pleasure of knowing her and her family for a little better than a year, I can tell you there's not a day goes by where she is not involved and really on the front line. So thank you for all you do for us. Really appreciate it. Rabbi Meir May, the Executive Director of the Wiesenthal Center, was also scheduled to be here today. I was getting emails from him throughout the evening with pictures showing how a Spirit Airlines flight was broke down in the middle of the tarmac in LAX. So he ended up not being, his flight didn't take off. So he wanted to make sure that he expressed his apology for not himself being here. But I think he spent about all night last night on the tarmac trying to get here. My last email from him was probably about 6 in the morning. So he wanted to make sure that he congratulated everybody here as well. But let me tell you, over the last couple of weeks and months, we've seen so much has been said about the need to fight discrimination, the need to fight anti-Semitism, the need to be on the front lines and making sure that we fight for tolerance and combat hate. And the Simon Wiesenthal Center has been on the front lines with that, with so many of the programs and so many things that we've been bringing to the table, both nationally, internationally, and also in our region in the New York area. Programs such as our government advocacy internship program, which teaches for the first time our college students how to advocate and how to fight back against folks of that nature, to make sure that they understand how to be active, not just the need to be active. One of the programs that we've had, which has been incredibly successful over the past few months, which once again Ann Arnold and many folks here have been very involved with, was making sure that on the BDS front, that we've been making sure that we followed the example of the New York City Council and made sure that every municipality locally can make sure to pass a resolution against BDS to make sure that they understand from a teaching methodology why it's important, what the message is to their communities. And I think, Ann, if I'm right, I think we've passed it in about 15 cities in the last 6 months.
Just one the other day.
We just had West Caldwell, New Jersey last week.
Yep.
Areas that are not necessarily the cities that you would right away expect to be concerned about these issues, but all the more so the need for us to make sure that everybody is concerned about these issues. And it doesn't matter where you are or where you think that you have the opportunity at this point for seeing that there's nothing happening in your area. Unfortunately, all the places where discrimination has happened, where anti-Semitism has happened, have been in areas that prior people thought it couldn't happen. So being able to be upfront, be proactive, and make sure to teach the messages of tolerance in an upfront way has been one of our many missions, and one that we've been very successful at, and one with your help we're able to continue to do. Just to give you one quick example also, you'll see on the tables here one of the videos that we've produced. As you know, the Simon Wiesenthal Center is the only international Jewish organization that has its own media studio. We've for 30 years have been producing films to teach the world in total about all of the things that need to be taught about the Holocaust, and about also the need to continue the messages of tolerance. And one of the ones that won an Academy Award we wanted to make sure that you had access to, so feel free today to take one and enjoy. So also, I just want to say this is our second year doing this. We've been blessed to have a great relationship with the New York Yankees, who have felt very strongly about fighting for tolerance with us, and who have really put their money where their mouth is in that sense. And as you saw today, made sure that the Simon Wiesenthal Center is in effect their 9/11 commemoration. This year the Yankees aren't playing at 9/11, so that's why they wanted to do it on the closest Sunday game that they had to 9/11. And we've been working in partnership with them because issues like this now have been able to be noticed by 50,000 fans here, not just by the ability for people like you who support these issues and know that we need to fight them, but the more our message gets out, the more that message of tolerance gets out, the more people we're able to bring to that table and hopefully help discrimination never happen. So without further ado, because I know we have a game to watch, I want to bring up the first honoree, Michael Balboni. I've had the great pleasure of knowing Michael Balboni now for, 15 years or plus, and it was funny. We both initially got to know each other in the political realm when he was in the New York State Senate. And there are a lot of times when I first came to the Senate, people said how partisan it is and these kind of things. There was an issue which was important to work on, and it was one of those that you would think of would not cross party lines. And they brought me to Mike Balboni to say, well, he's somebody you could work with. I couldn't believe I'm brought to somebody from the other side. He came right away and said, the only thing I care about doing is what is right and what is going to help to promote these kinds of issues, and the issues of tolerance and the issues of bringing people together and the issues of justice. And it doesn't matter how that gets accomplished, that's what we need to keep in mind. And I'll tell you, for the 15 years that I've known him, he has exemplified exactly that message. As you've read in his bio, he has become world-renowned. He was in the Senate when 9/11 actually happened, and he was immediately asked to become the first ever chair of the brand new Senate Homeland Security Committee. So all of the laws that you see in New York, which protect us from Homeland Security perspective, were either written or gone through his committee, and without his work would not be the case, and we would not be as safe as we are today. The recognition he got for that was immediately getting asked after that by the governor to become the first ever Secretary of Homeland Security for the state of New York when that department was built. So not only was he in a position to write the laws, he was in a position to implement them. So the fact that we've been able to be safe and secure for the last 16 years is in no small measure due to this man. And I wanted to just bring him up and
Yeah, right here.
So I'll just read this quickly. The Simon Wiesenthal Center 9/11 commemoration honoring Michael A.L. Balboni in recognition of his dedication to confronting anti-Semitism and discrimination, keeping our nation safe from terrorism, and promoting tolerance. Yankee Stadium, August 27, 2017. Congratulations.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really just want to thank all of you for coming today. It's your belief in this foundation that makes it work. You can't do it without the people. You can't do it without the belief that you can make something better. But I'm also a politician, so I understand that I'm standing between you and a game. So therefore, we can talk individually, but I'm not going to get, because I could talk for a long time about terrorism and about the things we need to do, but let's all come together and recognize this foundation and enjoy the baseball game. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
So our next honoree is somebody also who I've had the pleasure of knowing for quite some time, Mr. Jeff Bauman. So I'll tell you, one of the first things that happened when I got to the Simon Wiesenthal Center was I called Jeff. He's somebody that I've known in other iterations as well, and has always somehow, some way brought people together in ways that you'd never even imagined. And one of the things that we all wanted to do, obviously, was figure out ways to bring new people together to fight on these issues. And I think it took about 30 seconds for Jeff to say, okay, I'll see you tomorrow morning in your office, right? And he was there the next morning, and actually the first thing he did was introduce me to Ann Arnold. So as you can imagine, the amount of, not just the people that he knows, but the quality of the people that he's brought together. He's built so many networking groups, whether it's professional networking groups or things of this nature, to really make sure that people are brought together understand, not just from his professional standpoint, but to understand the importance of bringing people together to fight these issues, to highlight them, and to know that when these issues come before you, if Jeff Bauman's on it, you're going to get called and called and called and called until you understand the importance of those issues. But it's that kind of persistence which allows us to be successful and allows this world to have, hopefully, make sure that we end up in a better place in fighting those kind of issues, and brings us all together so we can collaborate better on the way we all fight discrimination and anti-Semitism, and really bring our resources to bear together. So it gives me great pride to bring up Jeff Bauman.
Thank you.
Just hit one picture at least, please. And then I'll hold it. I'll hold that
Thank you. Not being a politician, I put together some notes that I just wanted to share with you because I think it is important. I'm extremely proud and humbled to be receiving this honor and recognition by the Simon Wiesenthal Center. I want to congratulate my co-honorees, Michael Balboni and Joseph Stamm, who are sharing this day with me, and the honors that are being bestowed upon all of us. We will be connected forever. For my name to be connected to Simon Wiesenthal and what he stood for is an honor that I will spend the rest of my life living up to. Sharing the day with my wife, children, grandchildren, family, and friends that have traveled to share this special moment in my life makes it even more special. I know that Linda and my parents and grandparents and hers are smiling up in heaven today. In a world that seems to have lost its direction and its moral compass, there is a need for heroes for tolerance to come forward. Who better than Simon Wiesenthal, or those of us that share his beliefs to stand up and respond through actions by letting our voices heard to protect those who are being persecuted. That's why Simon Wiesenthal is a hero to me. He dedicated his life and stood up for the honor of all those that were murdered by the Nazis and never let the world forget. The mission of the Simon Wiesenthal Center is to follow in his footsteps advocating tolerance through education and reaching out to shine a light on injustice wherever it resides. Thank you all for supporting the Simon Wiesenthal Center's efforts to make our world a better one for all of our children, grandchildren, and the future generations that follow. Thank you.
And let me tell you, I've had the pleasure of knowing our other honorees for 15 or 20 years. Joe Stamm, I actually think I know since I'm about 5 years old. So, Joe Stamm, I'll tell you for myself personally, has been an inspiration and somebody who has shown me the way, to do this kind of work and been an inspiration for me. I never forget, seeing him as a child growing up and seeing the kind of people he brought together, the just sheer amount of organizations that he's involved with, the amount of dedication he has to each and every one of them. It's very easy to put your name on a board or involved. It's another thing to do it the Joe Stamm way, which is to make sure that you are on the phone, involved on a daily basis with every single one of them, while also being the CEO of a major organization as well. This is an individual who has made sure, like, just as we said before for others, has really made sure that all of these organizations understand that they're not isolated in the work that they do, but that if we're all going to be together and make sure that we can be doing the right thing, that we can do the kind of work that Simon Wiesenthal and the Simon Wiesenthal Center does, and bringing people together to understand our shared responsibility for fighting discrimination, fighting anti-Semitism, and for making sure that we are all doing it together. That we need to have that center, that those people who make sure to understand it from all walks of life, from all kinds of people. I mean, if you look, it's not as though Mr. Stamm is just a part of Jewish organizations. You look at the organizations that he's done for issues around the world. And to me, and to the Simon Wiesenthal Center, what that shows is that it's not just about helping one community. It's about showing the world that each of us need to be demonstratively showing other communities the kind of work that we want in order for them to work better with us. I know one of his staff members was brought up in the Philippines who ended up having issues that built a not-for-profit around. Joe Stamm took a leading role in that effort. I mean, these are not the kind of things when you look at other organizations that the average person would jump to. But that's the special nature of Joe Stamm. And I just look forward. I know he's been now for 40 years at his current job, and I hope he has another 40, because we can't afford to have anybody that doesn't understand what he has. And Joe, it just gives me a great honor to be able to recognize you in this sense. Thank you so much.
I feel that I'm the Afikoman at his Pesach Seder. You have nothing more you want to add another speech, so I'm going to be very, very brief. I'm very humbled to receive this award from the Simon Wiesenthal Center. The Simon Wiesenthal Center is very near and dear to me because of what it does in fighting prejudice and discrimination. And this organization to succeed for many, many years to come. It is really a deep honor for me to participate in this organization. I also would like to take a moment to give credit to Michael Cohn for establishing and putting this together. This is not a small crowd that he was able to bring here, so I do want to congratulate Michael. I also would like to thank my family. I have grandchildren, grandchildren. My wife, who, let me tell you one thing. For her to come to Yankee Stadium, you do not know what that means. She hates baseball, she couldn't stand anything, and for her to come here, it means something. So it's for you, Michael, that she came, not for me. Also, I'd like to thank my colleagues and my workers and my friends who participate, and let us all share with many, many happy occasions together, and Hatzlacha Rabbah to Simon Wiesenthal Center.